Veterinary medicine is a messy business, both physically and emotionally. Vetsplaining is one veterinarian's attempt to explain and understand her own profession a little better. Join Dr. Lisa McFaddin as she delves deep into the medical and business aspects of veterinary medicine. For this episode, we are going to focus on the idea of culture in the veterinary practice. And in my opinion, culture is behavior. So it's the behavior of the individuals that make up a group, whether that is a workplace, a veterinary hospital, a book club, a knitting group, anything. So the culture is established by the behavior that all of those individual persons that make up that group exhibit. So you can have positive culture, you can have negative culture, you can have toxic culture. A lot of people wonder, why does that matter, right? Why does the culture of a veterinary hospital matter? But it actually matters a lot, because job satisfaction and your what's called happiness quotient, right? So the amount of satisfaction and happiness you derive from your job or career, or whatever you want to call it, directly affects how good you are at that position. And so veterinarians, veterinary technicians, veterinary assistants, customer service representatives, kennel assistants, the happier they are with their position, the more effective they are. And then taken a little bit further, the more effective they are, the more profitable the business is, right? So again, business is not a dirty word. Veterinary medicine is a business. We have to actually make money in order to continue caring for our patients. So there's a lot of really good reasons to want to have a very positive culture at your veterinary hospital. And even if you take the money out, right? Even if you say, I don't want to focus on the fact that it's going to make us more profitable. It's going to make you a better clinician. It's going to make you a better assistant or technician or CSR or kennel assistant. Because when you derive value from your position, okay, when you enjoy going to work every day and you can get meaning from the job that you're doing, you're better at it. You can provide better care to our patients. So I interviewed Dr. Julie Reck, and in full disclosure, we went to vet school together. So it's really neat seeing people that you knew when they were students, and, we studied together, worried about passing the same tests together, and now we're all grown up. And Dr. Julie Reck owns her own very successful 4-doctor practice in South Carolina, but she also helped to found a company called Aspire that provides online training for veterinary practices. And it includes basically everything you would need to improve your culture. So conflict resolution, stopping the gossip, how to deal with upset clients. And it's really cool because it has a very interesting format. And so we talk about Dr. Reck's biography, how she came to this point, and then we talk a lot about Aspire. And I'm very excited for you guys to hear about it because the program sounds really interesting. And actually, what I'm super excited about as well is that we are going to try at least a few of the modules or the courses offered by Aspire at Independent Hill. And my goal is to try and do like a before and after, so discussions with the staff before we complete the modules, and then discussions after, and maybe like a month later. So that'll be, in a while, but I think it'll be a neat kind of experiment, right? How much does culture actually affect your practice? Which I think is a lot, right? But if you don't talk to your staff about it and you don't encourage culture development, then you'll never know. And how much better can your working environment be when you actively focus on the culture? So enough of me talking. Let's move on to my interview with Dr. Reck.
Hi there. I'm Dr. Julie Reck. I have been a veterinarian for about 12 years now, and opened up my own practice in 2011. It grew pretty quickly, but with that came a lot of growing pains. So I've learned a lot of things along the way. I am happy to report that it's now about 4.5 doctors. We're AHA accredited. We're also fear-free certified practice, so something we're also very proud of. And in 2008, I co-founded a new company called Aspire Vet. And Aspire Vet is online leadership management training through video courses. We specifically tailored them to the veterinary industry. And I've partnered with Randy Hall to create this. And then once it was in its infancy, we went ahead and teamed up with AHA because it really fit with their New Culture Initiative program and their desire to translate AHA accreditation to being best practices to work for. So we saw that was a real alignment there.
And how did you first meet Randy?
This is a fun story. So, have you ever seen the TV show Billions?
No. I mean, I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
So,
are you in it?
Just for all of the audience, the TV show Billions is a Showtime show, and it is a cat and mouse game between a self-made hedge fund billionaire and an attorney general. So, hedge fund billionaire is always skirting the law. Attorney general is always trying to catch him. The fun part of the story comes in is that the hedge fund billionaire has a right-hand person that is, she's almost this Jedi in human psychology, human behavior, how to read people. So she really helps to advise the hedge fund billionaire guy. And her title is something called an executive coach. She helps not just the billionaire that owns the hedge fund, but she also will coach any of the traders because they are the kind of the front line of the revenue generation for the hedge fund. If they're having something going on in their personal lives, or if they've begun to get anxiety about their performance or their own abilities, even imposter syndrome, she helps to coach them through that. And I saw in watching that show, I saw a real parallel to the veterinary practice and to some of the challenges that we face in the veterinary setting. And I thought, wow, one thing that I know my veterinarians in my practice don't get is they don't get that level of support. We all can't deny that things happen in our lives that affect our ability, our attitudes when we show up to work in veterinary medicine, and ultimately how that affects patient care or even revenue generation for the practice. So I started learning more about executive coaching and wanted to come up with a way to provide that for my associate doctor team. And I interviewed 3 different executive coaches. I actually was recommended to Randy by our Zoetis representative. And Randy had decades of experience actually coaching people in veterinary medicine. So the first 2 had no experience, and I had to spend a lot of time helping the coach understand why you weren't magically happy as a veterinarian, why it wasn't rainbows and sunshine.
Puppies and daisies.
After the second guy, and I'm like, these people, we face real challenges, and this is something that is there's a lot that we have to deal with that. So that was how I met Randy, and he was the most familiar with veterinary medicine, and I felt that my doctors would really connect well with him. So that was how I met Randy, was actually calling him for executive coaching. And that evolved to him working with other leaders in my practice, everyone from my practice manager to my kind of reception manager or team leader, as well as my technician team leader. So it was really interesting to see, and it's obviously a very significant financial investment to have a coach of Randy's caliber come into your practice and have his time spent with each individual employee. It is a lot to invest in financially, but even despite the fact that it was such an extensive investment, we were seeing increased levels of engagement. We were seeing higher performing teams and capabilities from everyone, not just the doctors, but from the technicians were supporting the doctors better, which was helping the doctor do more and be happier while doing it. And what I thought was going to be something we were going to do absolutely no longer than 6 months, I'm still investing in to this day, and we're 2.5 years later. So It's been really a pleasant surprise to see it not just benefit from the notion of everybody is happier, but also the bottom line is benefited. After Randy and I had worked together on my practice for about 8 months, he came to me with the idea of packaging up his content into these video courses and creating a product that would be much more available to the veterinary profession because it would be so much more economical. And I thought that this was an amazing idea. I think it's something that we desperately need in this field, and was really excited to kind of partner up with him. He really wanted to partner with a veterinarian in doing this. He really wanted to make sure that perspective was represented. So that's how it all started.
Weren't you equine track when we were in vet school?
I was, yes. I was. I grew up competing horses at a pretty competitive level. This was always something I wanted to do, and tracked equine at Virginia Tech. And then the 4th year, I think I actually swallowed the hard pill and really realized that I don't know that many equine veterinarians that still ride and enjoy riding their horse.
Huh.
And I thought, oh man, do I really want to do this? And that was when I kind of made the decision to go small animal with that. So it was a surprising one, and but it's definitely treated me well.
I was unaware. For some reason, I thought you were still, although in 4th year, everybody kind of scatters and you never really talk to anybody anymore because we're all so busy on clinics.
Oh my gosh. Isn't that...
So that's pretty exciting. So you said you founded your own clinic in 2011?
Yep. And that started when, let's see, I was an associate for the first 2 years coming out of school at a really large, busy practice right in the center city of Charlotte, North Carolina. And that was a great first experience. After that, I went to the Charlotte Humane Society, and I was a spay-neuter surgeon for 2 years. So those combined 2 different jobs were great because I had 7 doctors that I got to interact with for the first 2 years. So not necessarily that there was a lot of hand-holding, but everybody was very generous with their thoughts and ideas, a very collaborative approach in that practice where I worked at Long Animal Hospital, and I really enjoyed it. I also got to see they do a lot of surgical cases, and they do a lot of them in-house. So I got to see those occur, learn from them, and actually see them be really successful. So when I went to the Humane Society, now I'm suddenly responsible for doing anywhere from 20 to 30 surgeries in one day. And I no longer, if I'm having trouble finding that ovary or I drop a pedicle, it's going to all be on me. So that was a very fun experience in just getting comfortable being by myself and being really the most experienced medical professional in the building. Another fun aspect about that job is that we would have animals surrendered or even tied to the fence of the Humane Society. Some of them had dangling broken legs. Some of them had really severe hip dysplasia. One dog was unable to urinate because he had a urinary stone stuck in his urethra. So my point being, I got to do a lot of really interesting and adventurous surgical procedures. And I didn't have the weight of worrying about any of the legality if this didn't go perfectly. All I needed to focus on was absolutely trying to do the very best that I could for that dog. I was that dog's best shot or that cat's best shot. So, and most of the time, like, we were able to not only save the animal's life, but improve their quality of life. So I did everything from FHOs to urethrostomies to just a lot of procedures that normally you're just not comfortable being that adventurous in private practice, where you have a client and there's expectations and they've paid money and There's just a lot that you have to be aware of and responsible for with that. So this was purely about just helping a dog that needed my medical assistance. So, but it was a great confidence